Welcome to the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson, Rick Avalos, and their special guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome all. Another one of our fun shows. You guys realize this is already our third season? Rick and I were talking about this the other day and absolutely was still a concept a few minutes ago. And we've been having a blast. Thanks to you guys for being a big part of it, submitting your images and sitting through the shows and watching the replays and so on and so forth. It's very cool to be able to offer this to you. And we always are open to suggestions and comments and all kinds of other thoughts. If you have stuff along the way, don't hesitate to send us an email or something on something we can do better, different, whatever that you think on the show. We may not do it, but whatever. We'll listen. Uh, I am thrilled to see. Well, first of all, I'm sad to tell you that Rick is not joining us tonight. He's okay. He's just his granddaughter is graduating from college down in Arizona. So he's down there now for the weekend. But tonight we have my dear buddy Kevin Holliday, who you guys have seen before on the show and such. So Kev, thanks for being helping us
Yep.
out tonight. I look forward to
Always an
your.
honor to fill in for Rick Avalos.
It's a big shoes to fill,
Big,
isn't
it's some big shoes to fill,
it?
no doubt.
But of course, as you guys know, Kevin, I mean, he was part of PPC when he lived here in Colorado, so he's had a taste of the PPA world, but he also goes a lot farther into the fine art world, especially black and white and long exposure. So I find that to be a real huge benefit in just his perspective of our imagery and such. And then I want to also welcome a dear friend of mine from longtime. Well, I keep saying that. I don't want to make it sound like we're old, Gabe, but Gabriel Alonso is joining us tonight, and he and I and Rick have known each other for just several decades. Gabriel is a phenomenal portrait artist by trade. He does some beautiful art. And you did tell me now you've been doing more landscape and more wildlife and such lately.
Since well before the turn of the century, um, but that uh, kind of forced it, with everybody being recluse.
Yeah.
Uh, People didn't want to go out and be with others. So, and the landscapes didn't mind, neither did the beasties. So it kind of made it easy to go out and enjoy nature, and I particularly enjoyed bird photography.
Right.
In fact, I just got back from pursuing avians in Costa Rica, and
Very
it
cool.
was absolutely amazing, the variety of birds that are out there, and that country is absolutely gorgeous, and it's so clean, and the
Yeah,
people were very friendly, and
that's cool.
good food, good food.
Good coffee.
Huh?
Good
Yeah,
coffee
good
too.
good coffee. Yeah, good coffee everywhere.
Well, those
Uh,
of you who know me, that's to me the primary. We got to have a good location, bring good people. Then what's the food like? So
the
that
food's good,
those are
but
the
the birds, oh
steps.
my God, the birds were amazing. Particularly the hummingbirds. Man, I never seen so many different hummingbirds.
Wow.
And they're everywhere, and they're not shy. I'll tell you that. Um, but landscapes have always spoken to me, and then so do architectural photography. I love it. How about
When you've been
that?
doing, how long you been doing this as a pro?
Well, since I joined PPOV in 1983,
Wow.
so you do the math.
Yeah.
But
The answer to that is just a long time, right?
a long time, I got started with photography. I was a young boy. My dad was a photographer. He every chance he got, he took us out, on family picnics and stuff. And he had a Leica, and he had a Bolex 16 millimeter movie camera, and I was the meter boy. I still have that light meter,
Do you
and
really? Oh, very cool.
he would send me out to get the EV readings, and it kind of picked an interest since then, and
Yeah, very cool.
it was very cool. And that kind of went dormant for a while, but then it came back, when I became an adult, and it's needed an additional creative outlet. when my music beast was suppressed by marriage. I
I
kind
like to
of
use the word suppressed. Good call.
suppressed. Yeah, it was suppressed by marriage. I was told that I needed to get a real job, even though I had a rather successful musical career. The merits, I think I'm close to 600. I've been a life member for a while and um, fellow ASP, National Award, and some other things. What can I say? I'm
Yeah,
a juror emeritus.
I'd say he's been your judge for a long time, and then they elevated some of the talented gentlemen and or well, judges, I should say, into the emeritus status, which is just kind of like how many years did you judge? It was 20
Uh,
something?
I step aside on the 25th
Yeah,
anniversary,
yeah.
let somebody else do it. But they keep calling me back to do stuff. So
Well, they need to have it done right, so they keep calling you back.
yeah, I guess so. Like tonight, but I love to help. I also have a college degree in photography. I love fine art photography. I keep going back to museums. I can stop. Uh,
Yeah, but it's in your blood. It's not just something you like. It's you live it, you breathe
it's
it.
in the blood, yeah.
Yeah.
I have more photography books than you can imagine. If my catch catches on fire, it's gonna go fast.
Well, that's the same
Primarily,
thing.
all the
Yeah.
books are gonna burn.
Well, it's the same thing with me as if the place goes on fire, I'm not going to grab the important things. I've got to get the photography books, the old cameras that I have, and of course, my current gear, and that's going out the door first. So
Yeah.
I hear you.
I have an 8 by 10 Nova camera that belonged to Paul Ginnings.
Oh,
That
did it really? Oh, because I've got an 8x10 Nova as well, but it was my dad
it's
bought it.
yeah, it's made of ebony.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It still works with a Packard shutter.
Sure. Yeah.
It's do you have a Nova too? That's awesome.
Yeah, my dad bought one for his studio when he started in 1961, and I've got a 600 millimeter lens that we use for portraits. And it was he would do mostly well, it's got both a 5x7 and 8x10 back, but he would also do a split 5.7. So we would have did a couple of
Yeah, I have those backs, but you know what? That camera came with a 16-inch um
that's is that 300 millimeter
no, it's got a 16-inch
16 inch,
no, it comes with a 300 Eastman, but it also has a Pincus and Smith
right? The shutter,
brass lens
yeah, yeah,
that is priceless.
yeah.
And then some idiot painted it black paint.
Oh God.
Whatever. Anyway,
Those are the days.
those are the days.
Well, very cool. Well, welcome, guys. Thanks for helping me out tonight. Rick misses you. He says hello, and he's grateful that you guys are happy to step in and have some fun in his place. So you'll have to share some of his bad jokes, the ones you know.
Not
So
sure I
Last
mean that bad.
last thing,
yeah.
I became a grandfather
Oh,
uh,
that's right. Congratulations. Yeah,
on the 8th
yeah, yeah.
of
Congratulations
April.
on that.
Yeah, huge congrats.
Very cool. And we've had a few more folks join us, so welcome in. Thanks for being here. And I think we're about ready to start the show. So again, welcome everybody. We've got we actually have 22 images this evening. And for those of you who are new to this program, we're just going to bring them up. I'm going to share a screen and I'll bring up the images, and then the three of us will take turns, or we'll not necessarily take turns, but we'll all talk about it. And we'll use the tools in Zoom to kind of color them up and give you some ideas. And we're a little radical about it. And we certainly nowhere do we ever plan to be mean about it. So please don't take it that way. That's not what we're trying to do. But we will do some cropping. We may suggest black and white. We may crop out things. We may make some suggestions. It's all number one, designed to help you with more feedback. But just remember, we're just three guys. So if you don't agree with us, that's cool too. No right or wrong there. It's just a fun thing. And by all means, the chat box, open your chat box. If you have questions, Cliff is going to be monitoring that. And I'm sorry, I didn't even say hi to Cliff. How are you, Cliff? He's our longtime rock of the whole program, and We don't talk to him enough. Sorry, Cliff. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for being part of this again. I really appreciate
That's okay. I'm used to it. It's fine.
you. He seems to get us back, so I'm not worried about it. But so if we're in the middle of something and you have a question about image, even if it's not yours, feel free to type it in the chat box and Cliff will step on my toes and make sure that we get it answered. So um, if you want to, it doesn't matter if you identify yourself as the maker of the image or not, we don't care because this is all just for helping you out. So that's beside the point. So feel free to jump in and ask questions if you like. So any thoughts, questions, bad jokes before we start? Otherwise, I will steal the screen. A withering journey. Well, Gabriel, go ahead. I'm gonna let you start off and just give us a thought. So remember, you have the little annotation pencil.
Right. I like the presentation. It's moderate, and it's the key line is smooth and small. I like the leading line. It takes you to a point in which the PowerPoint, so the annotation here, it takes you right here where it's good. Come from one end of the composition to the other, and then you kind of come from the opposite side, takes you to a 90-degree angle. That's awesome. Yeah, the color harmony is beautiful too. Very peaceful. I love the feeling of it.
Kevin, what do you want to add?
It's a very inviting image to me. I mean, what's the title of this again?
A withering journey.
Withering Journey. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of that journey happening. It feels nice and very inviting going into it. We always talk about S curves in photography and how important they are. It's interesting because you don't see an S curve in here, but your mind knows that road eventually bends to the left. It looks like it does back there. So
Yeah,
I'm building an S curve in my mind, even though it's not necessarily there. I mean, there's a subtle one up front, but the real bend is back there behind the trees, and I kind of just I want to walk this road and know where it goes. Tricky lighting situation too that I feel has been handled quite well. I don't really find a lot of faults with this. There's no, I guess the road itself would be the subject matter, but I think this is one of those images where the entire scene is really the subject matter, rather than a specific subject. I'm impressed with the handling of the light. Feels a little, maybe a touch bright back there on that one far tree. My annotation tool's not working, so excuse me. I'll try to get it working.
that's right. So back in here.
Yeah, so back in here, this one tree, maybe just a touch bright, but
Oh, I
it's
see.
really
You've
not.
got a yellow orange color selected.
Yeah, I do.
We're not
I
seeing
know.
that one, but
Yeah, that's my color, man. That's my brand.
that's okay. It's just this particular image.
Yeah. So and like Gabriel was saying, the presentation's handled nicely. The color of the matte choice is I think a perfect choice really for this image. Matches the trees and then this very subtle key line. Well done.
The backlighting, it works in its favor.
Yeah, it creates that point of wanting us to walk through
Yeah.
into the scene and get back there and see what's going on. Yeah.
It looks to me like it was probably a fairly overcast day, and there's no direct sunlight coming through there, so there's no dappling of light that you're fighting,
Right.
which is always helpful, guys, when you're shooting in the woods. Overcast days are your friend.
Shadows and bright highlights can be a real problem, especially on
Yep.
shiny leaves like the aspen leaves. You
Yep.
get those little mirrors hanging up there, and it's kind of crazy. Yeah, this is done very well. I mean, look at the beautiful highlights on both sides of the trees up here. That in itself is a wonderful image right here, just to bring you into the scene. And again, that journey through. So let me ask you guys a question. This has always been a big topic in the PPA world. More times than not, a photograph is obviously going to be stronger with a specific focal point or area of the scene or the story. But there's a lot of imagery we see that is more like this, where the whole piece, the focal point. Kevin, do you have a problem with that, or do you like that idea, or what's your thoughts there?
No, I like it. I mean, there are definitely times when I want to see a specific focal point and have some fall off, some focus fall off and things like that. But landscape photographers many times do things to absolutely get focus nailed, which such as focus stacking, so that everything is in focus. So those are very effective images, in my opinion. I think this is fine.
Yeah, if you just look at it, lean forward and look at it, I mean, it's definitely crisp. You can see the little details of the bark on the trees here, and you can actually even see knots and eyeballs on the trees back in here that are giving this whole thing that sense of reality all the way through from start to finish.
Mm.
Very cool. All right, let me move on to the next image. But Maker, if you're there, I think you are. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and type the title in there in the box and we can use that. But um Gabriel, what do you think? Beautiful black and white here.
Oh, I love it, man. It's the highway to hell. But I
Oh,
love this
sure.
overpass. I love the architectural overpass here. That is very dynamic. I love the curves. Uh, I, I I I think it's a time exposure just looking at the clouds in the sky.
Yeah, the title is called Destination Unknown.
Yeah.
Destination unknown. I like that.
Tells the
And
story, doesn't it?
yeah, but it's I think it's very dynamic. Even though it's static, I think it moves, and I liked the presentation. There's a bunch of judges out there that object to white mats, whereas where I come from, I think it's a perfect environment for black and white photography. I mean, just go to a freaking museum for heaven's sakes. Uh, it's a neutral
Yeah.
uh, environment for black and white, and it Photoshop matte presentation is done very well.
Yeah, it's very realistic. It has some nice depth, nice little drop shadow there, so it looks re very real, three-dimensional. Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with
and
you.
it's
And I lean towards the white or just a little off-white, like Kevin and I have talked about before, quite often. But so many times in a PPA competition, it gets slammed. So it's a risk, I think, when you do a white man.
yeah, but I think it's crazy that they behave that way.
Kevin, what do you want to add to that? And this is right up
I,
your alley, bud.
I don't remember submitting this image. I don't really remember capturing it, but it sure looks like I would have.
It does. That's what
This
I
is like
thought.
really right up my alley.
Yep.
Minus the fact that it's not a square crop. Everything else is exactly what I would do. Long exposure, check. Black and white, check. Bridge, check.
Yep.
Really cool.
Underneath the
It's
bridge, check.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Wonderful composition. I think we got a strong rule of thirds here. Always a good thing to go with. We have this bridge right here. This road right here is on the bottom third where these two meet. That's in this kind of third section. It's really, I think, well handled. What's interesting to me, little details that I notice when I'm looking at architecture work, where the photographer puts him or herself. This little fence pole here is like right pretty much in the center of that column. This one, right, pretty much in the center of that. This
Yeah.
is graphic design stuff, guys, and that's also my background, graphic design. So I don't know if you saw that in the field or not. If you did, congratulations. If you didn't, also congratulations, because maybe now you will actually look for things like that. Move left or right and see where these things line up. And this pole right here is like right off the edge of that. So there's some space there, which is really cool. I agree. The white mat's perfect for this, honestly. If it pops up on a black screen in judging, it could maybe be too overpowering white. So maybe knock it back to 10 or 15% white. So it's not pure white.
All right.
Can't tell that on this if it is or isn't, but that's a good thing to keep in mind. Beautiful day of long exposure work. I'm not sure where this was captured. It looks like it could be Colorado. I don't know the bridge, but it's
Right.
beautiful. Well done.
The one thing that really pops up for me, loving black and white like I do, is the tonal range in here is outstanding.
Mm.
Look at the edges of the supports of the concrete. Look at even the fence, the rails here. That if you just look carefully, you can see the grain in the edge of the fence post there. Look at the textures in the posts. Look at the texture in the underhang here in the shadow, even just in this little shadow, darker area, the shock absorber there of the bridge. I mean, there's phenomenal texture all throughout this, and that to me is what makes it really more of a fine art black and white is to have that detail to make it see it, and that gives it the dimension, that gives it the story.
Yeah,
Nicely
a lot
done.
of depth. A
Yeah,
lot of depth in there.
Yeah, Fred Picker would be giving you a star.
we're nailing it,
I
guys. All
like
right,
that.
this is called Flowing Like Fire. Gabriel, what do you think?
I know where that is.
Yeah, it's your backyard,
Oh
right?
well, it gets a 10 for merit for catching that moment, for being there at the right time. It's in the thirds, man. It's a great composition. I love that. And just the color, the tonalities, man, it's amazing for the matting and the presentation.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
it is.
It's subtle. It's different. It's not just a black or a white matte, but it's subtle and it works.
Good, good choice of the shutter speed too.
Kevin,
This
thoughts?
is, yeah, it's like it's one of those images that pops up and you just have to look at it for a minute and be inspired and wowed.
But you have to
And
be there at the right time of the day
it's a
and the
Right,
wow image.
right
right.
time of the year. It only happens in February.
I
Wow.
mean, the blue and the purple that you have in the foreground coupled with the orange, those colors work so well together on the color wheel. And it's just this is coming from a black, I'm only a black and white photographer, but I can really enjoy a good color photograph, and this just really works well to me. Even the framing of the tree over here, which is,
Yeah, that's what's hitting me.
sometimes it can be kitschy.
Yeah.
Some people might think it's a little kitschy, but I think it works so well on this image because it balances it nicely. Um,
Well, it adds
I
depth
think
to the whole scene.
depth, the texture in the foreground, super well handled. Kind of another lighting situation that was potentially a bit tricky, well handled in the field on capture, and certainly well handled in post, bringing it to life. I think it's well done. And even the key line is, I normally wouldn't like that kind of a color key line, but it works so well here. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you that the grain on the sky is low technical skill.
Yeah, right.
That's a bunch of crap.
I think if you say the word grain like you did as opposed to noise, it works too. So there's nothing more I can add. It's just
I mean,
gorgeous.
I add grain to some of my images sometimes for that very
Sure.
reason.
Sure. No, I think everything about it's just well balanced, beautiful color harmony, wonderful story. Again, the tree I think is just a perfect position because it's there. It's saying, "Hey, look at me," but not asking for a total attention. But it gives us that step into the scene from almost that foreground, middle ground, background kind of a feeling. So
Hmm.
nicely done. Goat greeting. The one thing I'm kind of feeling real quick is you probably see this little bit of it's a backlighting, highlighting area, and I'll enlarge it because we do that. So I'm just kind of feeling this stripe kind of a feeling. So it's not a pure backlit, how the light will wrap around the scene. It looks more like it's digital feeling. If you look at the fur over here, it looks just a little bit the end of the ears. It looks just a little bit the word
I'm
digitized. But Kevin, what do you think? Oh, go ahead.
I'm detecting some challenges here, like perhaps some over sharpening going on, like the fur isn't really not sharp, and it was trying to over sharpen it, and it brought with it some consequences, like
I
some of
like the
the
term.
edging. I might be wrong with that, but what do you guys think?
I
Go ahead,
think
Kevin.
the goat was there in that location. It's hard to tell, but it almost does look like it was cut out and pasted in there. And it's so hard to do around hair like that. That's it does feel a little unnatural. I would like to speak to the good qualities of it. The composition is really well handled, I think, where the goat is located. I like where the light is coming from off the edge of the frame left edge there. That's really pretty, and the really subtle background is beautiful, and all the colors back there. But the technicalities, I think, are what sadly strikes us right out of the gate. The fringing around the hair, completely all around the animal. So it's almost like they the maker masked the animal again with my orange key, masked the animal so that the light could be handled differently here because it was likely very underexposed compared to this really bright coming in from the left edge. So masking had to be done to get the balance and the exposure. And I think the technicalities just came up a little short somehow. And guys, it's so difficult to do this around hair or fur or whatever it may be. Super simple, not super simple, but I should actually rephrase that. It's actually difficult enough to do it around architectural buildings where you're dealing with steel and glass and smooth edges, and it's still difficult. So only more difficult around hair.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the story. Even the little tip of the head is kind of curious as to, what do you want? Looking back at the
Yeah.
photographer, but the
Yep. I
backlighting.
love a lot of things about this image are to like.
Yeah, and I think everything that you've mentioned, unfortunately, it's a technical thing, and I do really believe that they're all solvable. I mean, I think you can easily solve
Mm.
these like we talked about, how it just looks like it's cut out. Even the color of this, the hair, which is usually kind of a white gray, has that nice warmth to it, like a sunset that kind of matches the whole feeling of the. We've got the sparkles of the light hitting the edge of the rocks, and this, like you said, the color of the sky, and even the coloring in the coat, just all makes it feel like a very nice warm evening. And this guy's looking at you like, "What you looking at, Willis?" I think if we just go in and work on those edges, you might have a pretty good thing. Matte color, I don't even mind that. It's maybe not something I would have chosen off the bat, but I mean it is color coordinated. It again, one thing that I will just throw at you is the key line, and this is just kind of becoming something that I'm hearing in competitions a lot. This is, I mean, we used to do key lines this far out from the image quite a bit, but it's getting to be where I'm hearing quite often a key line distance is maybe it should be more in here. It's not bad, but what happens is you start getting this almost dividing the mat in half, especially when this mat's probably only an inch, maybe we'll say. It's almost dividing it in half. So it's actually asking for your attention. It's saying, look at both halves. If this was closer, halfway in, it wouldn't be as attention getting. So just watch those little things like that. This is called Hills of Gold. Gabriel.
Ooh la la is right. Man, the beauty, man. Wow, it's breathtaking. Sometimes a lack of presentation could be the presentation.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
This saturation could be brought down a little bit. It could help. But those aspects, man, the gold is amazing. I love the choice of the vintage point.
Kevin, you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. I'll hop in there. I like the choice of crop here. This is looks to me to be a 2-to-1. It's a really good choice of cropping here, I think, on this. Really strong subject matter right there. The rest of the scene is really close second subject. I mean, the aspens are really the subject, but clearly this guy, this mountain peak is the subject, and all this foreground stuff just leads you right into there. Even this touch of gold here kind of helps bring you down in from this valley and kind of wraps you back up into that peak. Beautifully done. I agree with Gabriel. I think the sky could come down in saturation a little bit, and maybe the gold's a little bit, not much. And then the other thing that I might consider, just because it's competing here with this mountain, would be just to get rid of these guys right there. Those little ones are just kind of pulling you away from that. I think it would look better without them. Give it a look, see what you think.
Yeah, I agree on that. It's hard because a lot of times we get these beautiful cloud skies in Colorado, especially. But you've got so much going on in the whole image here with the patterns of not just the trees and the textures on it, but the lines of the rows of the trees, the different colors create rows, the valley, the shapes of the slope of the mountain, the faneuils here, and all that kind of stuff. And then we've thrown in these little clouds, and they tend to pull us up, and you have to kind of ask yourself, do I want my viewer to go up there and wander around? So I agree, I'd probably get rid of um, these little guys, like he said. But I'd also even look at that one because it's right at the edge of the mountain. And I'd probably even clean up this stuff here too. And
Yep.
just let this cloud bank sit over the top of the mountain because it's kind of almost
Yep.
ominous. It almost like, is this going to be an afternoon storm? It kind of creates to the story, but it cleans up the sky. And I probably would even come in and maybe just even crop it down, maybe cut the sky in half, give it that even longer, narrower. But it just makes, when you put a mountain towards the top edge of the scene, it just makes it even that much more powerful. It's a little uncomfortable, but that's what's doing is creating that strength, pay attention to me kind of thing. And one other minor thing, yeah, we talked about the colors. I think they're just the golds work. The greens look just a little bit oversaturated, and we're getting a cyan cast in here in the day. But I would maybe go back and just kind of I'm feeling like we've lost a little bit of our base black. The black's a little washed out in the shadows. It's a little bit wimpy up in these shadows. We don't want to lose detail, so it's a real minor point. But just get that black to have some guts to it. I think you've got a winner here.
Jonathan wonders what it might look like if you flipped it.
I always hesitate to flip scenes like this that are maybe of a specific location, landmark type of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it may or may not look great, and frankly, it does look pretty good this way. But if it's a famous location, I don't know, maybe not.
No, I know exactly what you're saying because I mean I know exactly right what this is myself. So flipping it kind of goes, ugh. You look at a competition, the judges don't know where this is,
Correct.
so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think it does kind of it's a little more inviting, bringing us in from the left to right. That's just kind of a call. If it's an obvious thing, I've seen images flipped where there were street signs that were obviously backwards, but or you don't want to flip some obvious monument that we all know what it looks like. So this is
Yeah.
just kind of on that border, but I think for a competition, this might be something to consider because it has a really nice leading line coming in here and this line and puts our subject over here. So next we have an image called Huntress. All right, Gabriel, you're new with the wildlife. What do you think?
I think it could get a lot of impact. Be a little overexposed. We're losing the edges on this on the animal. It needs to be brought down a little bit, and it would be a hell of a lot better. Uh,
The log
uh,
in the ear.
yeah, in both sides, and also a little lower. But man, gorgeous animal. Tone it down, man. Bring it down. I would love to see a little more space on this side.
A little more room. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It would be maybe a little more comfortable that way.
Yeah.
Kevin, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I like what everything what Gabriel was saying too, and sometimes I'm not a wildlife photographer, so I don't do this a lot, but I feel like a square crop on this that's like right in there, not even the full head, eyes, nose, mouth, that's it, power, so zoomed in, just intense.
So even inside of the top of the head and the ears?
Yeah, like all the way in.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah,
It does increase the intensity, that's for sure.
yeah. I mean, to me, it does.
Yeah, then the how you we lose a little bit of the edge of the fur on the around the sides isn't as
Mm,
important.
hmm
Of course, then I always my comment normally then from there is, how about black and white? That could be cool too.
Those gold eyes, though, so amazing. And no, don't don't do the selective color on the eyes with black and white. Please don't do that.
What do you mean
Get
you
that
want
kitschy stuff to Instagram.
yeah,
Give it
yeah,
green
don't do
eyes. Give it
that,
green eyes.
yeah. Well, you could make it red, pink, and call it Cujo or something like that.
Yeah. The focus is nailed. That's I mean it's amazing. When it popped up, I was like, dang, that is
Well, look at the texture and the
tack
fur and the
sharp.
little hairs, and I mean, you look at the grain in the eyes, the texture in the eyes,
Yeah.
right on.
And
It's
it's
enough detail in the mouth to not be a black hole, little things like that that
yeah.
can pull your image down. Yeah, that's kind of the more I look at this, I kind of like this crop. It's a little more interesting. Let me just go back and see the full thing again. Because I mean, it's a base with the body, but I don't know that it's necessary when you go in that tight to have part of the ba body to be a base. Then we have an image called Iridescent Beauty. Ooh, Gabriel, there's your hummingbird. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, that's a really difficult image to capture. Here, let me just look at it for a minute.
Beauty, iridescent beauty.
Yeah, it sure is, man. That's yeah, no, the tail's a little blurry, but it I don't care. It's still a tough capture. Awesome. Yeah.
Let me ask you that in because I see it a lot of times in competition of a subject like this, which especially a hummingbird with these, I mean, these wings are moving so darn fast in the tail. The eye, the head, look at how nice and sharp, even enlarged it. Look at how crisp. Look at the detail on there. Not
Yeah.
like 300% here, 207.
I would not want the tail to be tack sharp or the wings. I like
No.
that blur. It needs to be there to keep it looking real. Otherwise it's
Yeah. Yeah.
too clip arty or something. That
No, that is awesome.
you
Yeah.
gotta have movement in there.
Yeah, exactly. What needs to be sharp is sharp. The rest of it shows the story,
Yeah.
shows motion. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. I've just heard that so many times somebody has cut down an image in score in a competition because
Mm.
it wasn't all sharp, and it'll almost always be a bird, and it'll almost be
Well, they're just wrong.
well, you know what? That's the beauty of our show. You can say whatever you want because I have the final editing. So, no, I agree. But then look at the color harmony in this, the background, the matte, beautiful bird. They've played those colors up real well and not gone like if it was have been a brighter green for the matte, I think it would have been tougher to handle. But this is it coordinates and it doesn't take away. Would you do a different crop? Either one of you guys.
I was thinking about that, and the more I look at it, I don't think that I would. Oddly, only other crop that you could maybe do would be have it even longer out to the left side, so that the
Just
bird's far to the right, and it's like
yeah.
just there's a ton of negative space over there.
So you could
I
even
was like,
take
would a
it.
square crop work? And I'm like, no, I don't think it would. Yeah, I think this is a good crop on it.
You could
Yep.
take half of this distance and add it over here, and I think that would make it even
That's what I'm
I,
saying.
I
Yeah.
like
more
I
better.
like the texture they put in the background, that little uh like a mat or like a nest or a linen or
Mm.
whatever it is.
Yeah, just
Pretty.
subtle, very subtle, but it helps the whole story.
Mhm.
Even the little, and I don't know if this is if you've used makers used a flash on camera or not, but just that, even just having the little catch light gives the life. So many times we see wildlife or birds, and the eye is just a black marble or whatever color it is. But just having that catch light. So if you have an image with a bird you like, but there's no catch light, think about dropping one in there just to give it that life. It gives it the depth. Hosea. Portraits, black and white. Gabriel, I'm throwing this
What
one.
a character.
No kidding.
Beautiful presentation, man. I like that blurry matte. Key line's a little big, but that's okay. I don't care. It's still the guy is so the impact is so strong that it really doesn't matter. It gives him a really good place to live to be. I love the quality of the image.
Yeah, those blacks and the skin tones are very rich in quality, aren't they?
Oh yeah, look at that expression on this dude. I don't know what's in his head, but man, he lives in another world, and that's pretty. That's pretty. I think he projects a really cool feeling.
Confidence and wisdom. That's what I get out of it.
You would
Yeah.
hope so.
I agree with you, Gabriel. I think the key line is maybe just a tiny bit thick. I think it's the right color key line, the right tonality. I think the image tonality could come up just a minor touch. It feels like the histogram's a little bit to the left, like just to whiten his beard up just a touch. Not much. I love the focus on it. Like the depth of field on it is great. His shirt collar's slightly
Yeah.
out of focus even. I love that.
Tip of the nose
Yeah,
to
no,
the
it's
right
great.
hand
It's
above top,
fantastic.
yeah. So Kevin,
Yeah.
are you saying, just to be a little more clear, are you saying lighter in density overall or maybe more contrast?
Lighter, probably almost a globally, but not much.
Okay.
Really subtle. Yeah, really subtle. I think the contrast is there. It is there actually.
I love the lighting on this dude.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so much detail because
Good.
of the way where the direction of the light is just really well done.
I like the double accent lighting.
Okay,
Mhm.
so that's another question I was going to ask you guys. That, all that we've always been taught is to not have two catch lights in the pupil of the eye.
That could be
And
coming from an accent light on the left.
yeah, I think so too. I think because you can, oops, that's a little big, but you can see the main light softbox, and then that looks more like, I mean, they're all reflections, but it doesn't look so much like a light source as maybe it's a reflector or something that's
Mm.
just there. But yeah, I guess the point is because I've always heard over the years, especially in PPA competition, to not have two catch lights, to get rid of one of them. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but we don't
I
see
couldn't
it.
speak to that at all, that's for sure.
Nicely done. There was a title didn't come through on this one. Jane, I think this is yours, isn't it? Can you give us a title? Anyways, Kevin, I'm gonna let you dive into this one first, right up your alley.
It sure is, just like the other one, huh? Yeah, I think I feel like I almost know this bridge, maybe. Yeah, really cool. I like again, cool choice of crop here. Not one I would have necessarily thought about. You know, tall and skinny. It's not quite a 3-to-1 pano. It looks like maybe a 2-to-1 crop.
Here's the title, if this will help you out. Overpass to Nowhere.
Overpass to nowhere. Okay. Yeah.
That's
I
pretty
think
awesome.
it's really quite cool how I mean my eye immediately goes to the lower section, which is quite low in composition, really close to the bottom edge. That's where my eye went. And I like the fact that it's so far down there. It's breaking the rule of thirds for sure. We have the bend here, which is almost in the rule of thirds. It's really more about up there actually where that would be. But my eye immediately went down here, and I like the fact that it's so far down there, because now my eye has all this place to go study the rest of
Right.
the image. And that's a lot of studying to do. It really is inviting. It's a powerful image. Nicely handled on the verticals, by the way. Nicely done.
Let me show you something. I was just looking at this here. So if this were to be cropped or produced, if I can make this happen, there we go. And you cut out that black, the other lane, and you'd have this. it's still cool, but doesn't that lane down there ground it and give you some strength and a position to start at and follow through, whether you go this way on the
Yeah,
curve?
maybe. Yeah, I think so. But let me see that again, Jeff, because that was really quite interesting.
I think that's a huge improvement.
This is?
This right here, I think it might be.
Okay, well,
I
let me
think you're
just,
right. I didn't think about that, but now that I'm seeing it, the road to nowhere, now it's just floating in space. We don't know how high up this bridge is now.
that's true. It
We have
does
no
give
idea.
it a mysterious element about it.
Yeah. Jeff, do me a favor. This is another rule breaker. Crop this in until the left edge is on that point, so that
Ah,
exits the corner.
right there.
Rule breaker for sure, but sometimes this is really
That's
cool to
that's
do.
even better.
You've got
Yes.
it's very geometrical.
Yes.
It's conceptual. It's not an actual
That is
object
graphic
looking at
design.
a
And in
story.
fact, what I would do in Photoshop is I would skew it and stretch that edge to be right at the corner too.
I was just gonna try and do the crop, but I think when I get down there, see the other road
You will.
there.
You have to stretch it. You'll have to stretch it in post.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of pull it out.
Yeah.
So
But it
make
would be
basically,
so strong.
so what you're saying is take the edge of this
That
rail,
corner,
guardrail right into the corner.
yes,
This is
to the
doing right
pixel.
here.
I don't know if this is part of the broadcast or something, but the sky looks pixel
Yeah,
square.
that's part of Zoom.
It looks like
Oh, I
little
see what you're talking about.
little
Up in here.
boxes, little boxes.
I'm seeing some curves in the sky right here. I can almost promise you. Make sure when you look at your TIFF or PSD or whatever your big file is, that you're not seeing those. You may have to make sure to take it to like a 32-bit file because that helps the gradations. But I'm seeing a little bit of that in that gray up there too. But
Some banding.
um,
Okay.
banding,
But I
that's
think the
yeah.
boxes, Gabriel, that you're seeing are part of the Zoom broadcast.
This crop is a
Yeah.
It's a
freaking
winner.
It's a masterpiece.
It's a winner.
Hey,
It's a
Maker, you
winner.
got that from two masters, so there you go. And I agree. So let's make it three.
That's
Um,
a chicken dinner, man.
I love
It
it.
is a chicken dinner.
Chicken dinner. Good job. My story is in my hat. All right, Mr. Portrait. Gabriel, what do you think?
I think it's pretty strong. Love the lighting and the expression, man. It says everything. But the whole thing's in those eyes.
Isn't it?
It's beautiful. Look at the reflections, man. But the very powerful expression. Yeah, man. Wow.
Yeah,
Very
it's
powerful.
beautiful lighting. Beautiful. The
Yeah.
pose is simple but so strong.
You know, if anything, I would have cropped it just a little bit so that the head is not dead smack in the middle. I would take away a little bit of space from the camera left. Just a tiny bit there. There you go. That's much better.
So you were after the head to be in the middle, huh, Gabriel?
No, I don't want the head to be in the middle.
Oh, okay.
I want less space on the left.
Yeah, I do. I agree that it's just a little more comfortable.
That
Let me ask you guys this real quick. The only thing I see, real minor thing, but I feel like this eye is just a little bit brighter. Okay,
what eye is this
no
eye?
problems there. So this eye looks just a little
Yeah.
bit brighter than this one, and it's maybe just dodged a little bit too much. I mean, I'm talking, and that's the thing that we talk about in competition is that a judge is going to look at it, and if everything appears amazing when it first comes up, they're going to start looking at the tiny little things to make sure it help out. But I just kind of get the feeling the more I look at this eye is just a little bit, even maybe brighter than this, because
It's
this is the shadow side of the face. I'd maybe tone the whole eyeball down a
yeah, it
tenth.
also looks it also now that you mentioned it, Jeff, it also looks sharper overall.
Probably because it's brighter, you think?
Yeah. Like it's had
Wow.
some clarity bump in it. The clarity slider will do that.
But look at the quality of the lighting pattern. Oh my God,
I,
look at the detail back here. Jeez.
I mean, I heard this. That's so nitpicky. This is an amazing image, and it could use a presentation. Maybe that's all I can say negative at all. I mean, it's a wonderful image.
These are the ones where I get at least every show. One time I'll say the only problem here is it doesn't say Jeff Johnson right
Yeah,
down here in the corner. I know you've heard
that was
quite saying
that was
it.
that bridge image on the last one for me.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Painted by Morning Light. Gabriel, thoughts on this one?
I love it. To me, this is catnip. I would start taking some of the sky down by cropping some of it.
Cropping it? I can do that.
Yeah, just remove some of the top. Yeah, baby. That's
Yeah.
to me that's an improvement already.
Yeah, the sky still has a story. It doesn't need to have all of that, does it?
Yeah. Painted by light in the morning. Yeah, I love that.
But even bringing in, I like this ridge line. It's just a little bit back. Like bring that from that corner down
Hmm.
there.
Yeah, I love the curves of the foreground, the S curve that it forms. Also, this seems to have some milkiness to it, maybe bring some contrast up.
We've got a lot of the that ultraviolet light in at that time of
Yeah,
day.
the UV, right.
Does this color, because and this is a personal thing for me, that cyan color bothers me. It's offensive, and it's actually an interesting thing. If you go into some of the 23andMe and those kind of things, they actually will state that you either like or or hate cyan. But this pulls my eye, this area right here. Would you change that, you guys, in any way?
I don't know. Maybe it doesn't bother me as much as it does you. I think my eye gets pulled there mostly because it's just a solid
Right,
block of like darker patch of trees compared to everything else. I
right.
think that's the reason my eye gets pulled there. It's interesting that you crop this, Jeff, to where that road's in the corner again, yet another rule breaker, but it works. The fact that there's these little trees, you would not see these trees right there, guys. You wouldn't see them at all if that cloud bank was not beneath there. You just wouldn't see them.
It adds some
It's
depth. It kind of defines that hill, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's really cool. And the again back leading up all the way back up into this final subject matter, I guess.
Well, again, you get this, we got our foreground, our middle ground, and our background, so it really pulls us into the scene. But all these sweeping lines allow us to not just go from here to there, it allows us to kind of venture, swagger on through the scene, if my dad used to say, just kind of stroll on through. I thought that was a good definition.
That's a good call, Gabriel, on that crop. Yeah, that works well. I think it's a
Would
little
you
tight at the top now, but overall it's better than having all that sky.
Would you take down the highlights?
Yeah, I think I would. And then I would crop right in. This is nitpicky, guys, I know, but these details matter. This little section right over here where that sky just drops down in that little gap, crop that out. Right edge.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, just maybe like
Yeah,
right.
right there. That's it. Just enough. Yep.
And then now I've also created, see a little bright
Yeah,
spot
yeah.
right
That's
there?
see those little things, but you can spot clean that.
That you could get rid of, but I would definitely do that because it's
Edge
stop.
elements. I call them edge elements.
Yeah,
Check your
because
edge
it
elements.
pulls your eye over there unnecessarily, rumbling onto the runway. Kevin, I'll let you jump in and go into that black
Wow,
and white mode. What do you
that's
think?
intense. That's amazing. How do those things even fly?
I don't. Well, it's like call them a flying fortress
I
because
Is that
mean,
a
I see
fort?
planes fly over me all the time that are so big. I'm like, how are they in the air? Cliff could answer that, of course, but I mean, I know how they are by physics, but it's just
right, right.
amazing.
Yeah, Cliff,
Great.
what kind of aircraft is that?
The
That's a
B-29
fortress.
Super
It is,
Fortress.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Super Fortress. That's right.
it's
And the
cool.
way they fly is PFM, pure magic.
Perfect. That should be the name of this image, actually. Cool. It's a great use of a telephoto to really compress that foreground to get just to compress that in a lot. I think it works really well, and it's a really great shutter speed too to capture the propeller movement but not blur them too much,
Right.
just enough. Perfect shutter speed. Couldn't ask for anything better on that. Tonality, I think, is handled really well. I would like to see a little more white maybe in here somewhere, potentially behind the airplane would be the area that I would like to see it. So brighten up the sky a little bit back there.
Right.
And then I'm not sure that I'm loving this bank right there because I would like that bank if it went all the way across, but it doesn't. That
Yeah, I
bank of
see what you're
clouds.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so my eye keeps coming up here, sadly. That's easily you can handle that easily in post with just some content aware fill. I think the overall cropping is pretty good. You could probably lose some of the foreground maybe, but I think it works.
I was going to ask you if you think, because I'm looking at this and thinking, well, what if we
Yeah,
something like even come up into like, and
maybe.
that might be too intense, but coming down to just kind of, this is more about the aircraft. I wish there was a little more space on the ends, but
Yeah,
Go a little
I
further so it's the same distance here.
I like the foreground. I personally like the foreground.
yeah, I think you're right. It does.
It gives me some context. I don't know. It works this way too. That's pretty cool. I could see that behind a couch or something. That's
Well, that's just
pretty
it. It
bad.
depends on how it's going to be used because this
Yeah.
definitely tells a story. This gives us the depth of where it is, but the
Mm.
other one is more about just the aircraft. So but I mean, look at the beautiful lighting across the front end and the edge of the wing. Nice detail, nice shadow and highlight contrast, and
Yeah, I'm mostly impressed with the shutter speed. That's so good.
Yeah, Gabriel, do you want to add something else? So I feel like I kept stepping on your toes there. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. The only thing I would notice is that it would be nice to have the same distance on the
Right.
edges.
And little things like I know this is part of the runway system, but each one of these little guys, yeah, I mean you can say it's leading us up into the aircraft, but it keeps asking for a lot of attention from me. I don't know that you would remove them. I don't know. I mean, obviously removing it isn't appropriate for the scene, depending on who's going to be the ultimate viewer, because it's part of the whole system. But I'm seeing all of this stuff, and I know it's part of the story, but this plane is so powerful in itself and how well it's lit,
If we have
direction.
enough time, Jeff, to drop a crop in, but not as tight as you were. Drop it in just right above that sign there.
Yeah, let me
So you
do.
have a little bit of the foreground still.
I didn't see, where did you go? Like right
Right above that second sign.
there? Or
Nope, the other one. The other one. Yep, right there. Let
okay.
me just see that. If it still provides context enough.
It does. I mean, I think because if you go like what I did before was way up to here,
I don't know. I
you
like the
kind of
foreground.
lose the strength of base.
I like the foreground.
You know what? I think this is the best one right here. Hang on a second, let me get out of the crop tool. I like this one here the best. So let's move on. How's everybody doing? I'm not reading the box. We got any questions that I'm missing? Are we good? Okay. Serenity, deep in the bayou. Gabriel, what do you think?
I think it's pretty powerful. I love the textures on it. My only observation to make it even more powerful would be to actually crop it from the right. So bring a little tension to it, make it even more powerful.
Just on the right side or
Yes, like that.
yeah?
Stop there, so that this line stops at the bird's eye. Yeah,
Oh,
right
yeah.
there. That would make it, in my opinion, stronger.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other way until you
I
did
know,
that.
I
No,
was
because
gonna do this.
when the bird's looking into the edge, it brings tension.
Yeah,
And
put
it,
that back, Jeff, the other way. Just how you had it right there. Leave it there. Let me look at that. Yeah, I was wanting to do from the other side just because to give the bird space to look, but you're right, Gabriel. This gives that tension. You can
yeah,
even come in a little closer and you
it's
wonder
an
where
old
the
trick.
bird's looking. This is gives really good movement now. Look at that. But with the original crop, that movement that I'm seeing kind of disappears. This whole beautiful movement here is not as powerful with the original crop.
It's interesting how once you point that out and do that little change, how much stronger it can be.
I was trained by experts.
Well, so was I, but it apparently didn't fall into place there.
This is a great image.
Comment to
Super.
the maker. I'm feeling like this image, and I don't know what you sent in it, but I feel like this image is, and I'm not going to enlarge it to do anything, but it feels like we've lost, it's breaking up. It's not as crisp image-wise. It's either been over somethinged. I don't want to say over sharpened, but when I get into like mostly the gradation of the color of the bird's wing there, or even in the tree, it loses detail in a way that makes me feel like it's like the noise reduction has been overdone. So just check on that and see. I mean, I could be wrong, but when I looked at it earlier, when I got the image, it has that feeling like it's maybe been overworked just a little bit. So again, just it's only meant to help you. And I think a lot of what we find in a lot of these images that we talk about on the show is that it's not about whether you should or shouldn't continue. What we're trying to do is to help you make it, as I like to say, more better. Hopefully, you'll look at it and take these compliments and little bits and pieces of information and tweak it and play with it some more. And maybe you'll come up with some totally different crop. I don't know, different things like that. And that's all we're just trying to do is open your mind up to some different points of view. This one's called Silent Sentinel. Kevin, jump in.
That's a killer capture of that bird to capture him in flight like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of competition in this image for where my eye needs to go. Sadly, with the background being so busy, I love the capture of the bird. Really, just a perfect timing of his wingspan, talons tucked up like they are. Really strong movement in here too, like that, sweeping in from this really
Right.
cool, strong movement. It feels very graphic design as well, which lends to me nicely. I wish there were a way to kind of tone down the busyness of the background clutter. That's all I'm seeing. Presentation wise, I think you mentioned it earlier, Jeff. The key line just feels a little too detached. I would put it right up on the edge, and
What do you think about the color of the mat?
I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I it works because the bird. I think there's that color is in that bird somewhere.
I'm
I think
thinking
you
if it
could
was
go.
more, the mat was more in the color of, say, the sky or something like that, might let the bird stand out even more.
I feel like if yeah, I do. I feel like if the mat were in this color over here, this kind of this darker gray, it's like a blue
There you
gray.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where it would work best. And then you could have the key line be that same brown, but just attach it right on edge.
Rick always has that definition of a show, the attached key line or the detached,
Yeah.
or at least bring this one in a little closer. Gabriel, what do you want to add to that?
I have nothing to add. I'm agreeing with just about everything you have said about the mat and the composition. But I have to add that I think this is an amazing capture of this bird, especially when it's moving across, the panning. It's quite an achievement to get a bird image like that and catch it so sharp. It's quite an achievement.
It is a
It's
challenge,
great.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's a great challenge. The maker ought to be jumping with joy. It's quite an achievement, and
I,
I
I,
would be proud to have an image of this bird
oh,
like that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, these are the kind of great wall prints where, this stuff we're talking about doesn't matter because it's not a competition, but it would be such an impressive scene. I did this that little trick that we like to do is to flip it upside down because it kind of throws your mind for a loop for a second and you start looking at different things. And what I kept catching my eye with these dark spots right here.
I saw them too. Yeah.
And it's just enough that once it's the kind of thing, once you see it, you can't unsee them. So even if you do nothing else with this and maybe make a print for the wall or for keeps, I would get rid of these dark spots in the
Mhm.
background. Not all of the stuff. That's okay. That's okay. It looks like there are weeds or something across the water, across the land. But these darker, at least tone them down, maybe get rid of them altogether. This one is called Simply Home. And I'm looking at this as a 40 by 40 to hang in my living room here. Absolutely wonderful feeling of solitude, being out in this beautiful world, enjoying the morning, the hike.
That looks like it could be one of yours.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just that alluring, great depth, a nice diagonal of the buildings, the tree, and down falling over the edge there, but the little bit of clouds allowing us to look up the uphill of the hill on the other side. Again, talking about color of mat, I don't know that even though it's color coordinating, it works well down here in the land area. Up here it stands out a little bit much. I'm not sure what else to do. I don't know if I go into this tone of the brown greens of the trees. Maybe try some, if you probably have already, but try some different colors. What do you guys think?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm so drawn into the image that I didn't even really notice the mat
Okay,
until you started pointing it out. So
then
that's
then
a
forget
good
what I
thing, I
said.
suppose. That's a good thing. I like the hazy atmosphere. Nothing feels like tack sharp and focus. I mean, I'm sure that it is focused, but there's enough haze in the atmosphere to really soften the image. Love the old school crop too. That's like a 4:3. Yeah, you don't see that crop very often. It's a pretty it works well for this image. Look at this little ridge line right up into that corner again. Seeing that, I'm seeing them everywhere now, and it works.
Well, it keeps you back, almost kind of pulls you, and even the tops of these trees, right? It kind of pulls you back into the scene, even this line, and it's all carrying us down into the valley. So it's a very wonderful motion throughout.
Yeah, I mean triangles are powerful composition, and you have a really strong triangle right here pointing right into this
Yeah.
area right here. It's a cool composition for sure. I love the look. I love the lighting on it. I wouldn't change much on this at all.
Gabriel, anything you want to add?
Well, it kind of reminds me of that little ranch in that airport road around Telluride.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I don't know. It's like very low contrast. I wonder what would happen if you just crank up the contrast a little bit, if we would kick it to another level. I love the fact that it's just the three elements. It kind of gives it a sense of being, It's if one of the three was missing, it would be incomplete. Yeah, there's a power to that number.
Put a little
And
more contrast in it, you get a little bit
yeah,
more guts in the.
yeah, but I love the bowl.
It's a nice balance. It's a nice,
Yeah,
soft, inviting balance.
it's a beauty.
I liked the subtle contrast. I felt that it was more painterly feeling.
Yeah,
It,
that's kind of, I was just going to say the same thing. It does feel like a painterly, and it
You know,
goes along with the cloud cover. And
I'll take it.
okay,
I'll buy one.
I've got the maker's name right here.
Maker, you got a buyer.
Yeah, I'll have her send you a bill.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, done. It would look great above a fireplace. I can see that in a log cabin or it's like a cool little mountain cabin somewhere hanging above the fireplace. Perfect.
This is called Souvenirs of Service. What a great concept of calling the tools of the trade, so to speak, as souvenirs. Like they obviously have worked for them. They obviously have earned those kind of things. So, Gabriel, you go ahead and tell me what you think.
Well, it's beautiful lighting. I love the kicker lights. To me that they give the power to this kind of portrait. I'm kind of picky when it comes to stuff like this because I want to see just a tiny little bit of tip of the head in that direction.
Oh, a head tip.
Just to them straight, just tip the head, damn it. And this what's going on with his fingers? What is he gonna hit somebody or what? Straighten those fingers a little bit. But this tells a hell of a story. Is this a F-111? No. Well, if
Yes, it
a
is.
bomber, right? Um,
F-111.
yeah, it's a beautiful story that it tells, man. I have a hell of a lot of respect for Steve Brugger. Thank you for your service, man. I love this portrait. It's awesome.
Look at his knuckles here. I'm wondering if he can't straighten his
Maybe it's
knuckles up.
arthritis. What can I say? And how do you tell a person like that? But you go in there and you work with their hands. But I'm just going to work with what I see, and I'm going to give him an 84. But I want to give him a 90. So work those hands, man.
Kevin, thoughts?
I don't know what else to really add to portrait work. It's just not my genre at all. Every time people like yourself or Gabriel or anyone else is speaking of it, I'm learning, and it's interesting that you point out the hands, but maybe he can't straighten them. Maybe he has really bad arthritis or something. I don't know. He's been through hell and back potentially. I'm sure this man and his family is over the moon with this portrait.
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I tend to when I look at images that I don't know a lot about, I tend to notice other things like these little lights that keep drawing my eye right in there and just those little spots, clean them up. Feel like unless they have to be there, maybe they're when I'm not looking at it on Zoom, maybe they mean more if I'm seeing the real image in clear focus. I like the image.
Beautiful lighting. I would retouch this highlight. These reflections in his helmet.
Right.
You wouldn't or would?
I would.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I would take this out.
I think so too.
I will tell you, it's my image. His hand is like that because he's gripping the base of that display there.
Oh, I see. He's tipping it.
And
I get you.
and I asked him to kind of tilt it, and that's the way his hand ended up.
I see that now that you mentioned, you can see the base is tipped towards us, but yeah.
I felt like this might be yours, Cliff. It definitely has your mark on it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You do good work, man.
Thank you.
Good lighting.
Oh, it's exceptional lighting. Look at the roundness. I mean, that's real.
The stories that Cliff has told through this whole project is just amazing.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome. Well earned, well deserved.
This one is called Spring in Mellow Yellow. Well, it's wonderful. I mean, I love these points of view of parts of a flower from underneath, things that we don't normally see as we walk by these flowers. I mean, that's right down my alley, is to get that different view, the focal point at the base of the flower, the stem, and it just kind of some of the petals that are in the same plane, but the rest of it being soft, I think. I mean, again, I like that very shallow depth of field. The color harmony is very strong. The yellow is bright. It balances, not only coordinates with the flower, but it balances on both sides of the flower, so that works. And then the top half has got the white in it. I don't know that I would have chosen a black mat. I think I would have gone into something more of a gray or a white or something. I wouldn't have done a yellow. But again, it's one of those things that no matter what you do with a mat in competition, some judge is going to tell you something else. So it's all, but I just feel like the black, maybe just a little bit too stark because there is not a black in the scene. Gabriel, what do you want to add?
Oh, I'll tell you what, I love the striations. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful, the textures, the striations, it's so pretty. And the different shadows and colors, it's very, very pretty. And the black, whatever. I think it's neutral. It gives it a good home. Look at the little textures on the stem. Good
Yeah.
job. The only thing that it would have been better in my opinion is instead of being up and down, if it was on an angle. Other
Just
than
a
that,
little direction that way. Yeah.
yeah, beautiful.
Kevin, anything to add?
Not a lot. This image, I had to back up. It blew me out of my chair when it popped up. I'm way back here now.
It
Looking
reached
at
its
it.
full potential.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, it's really powerful.
Imagine a 40 by 60 of this in somebody's living room.
I know. Yeah, the yellow. I mean, you better like yellow if you want this on your wall because it's definitely a powerful yellow. It really draws you in. The title's perfect.
What is the title?
Spring
Something
in mellow yellow.
bring a mellow yellow. Yeah.
I would
Just be
call
like,
it They
just be
Call
like,
Me Mellow Yellow.
They call me mellow
yeah.
yellow. Yeah.
At first, I was thinking that these whites up here were too much, but the more I've looked at it, have begun to really like them. No detail up in there or very little because it just forces me to come down into this location here, right there.
Right.
And that's where I think the maker wants us to be. I'm pretty sure. And like Gabriel was saying with these striations in here, just well handled. I could go either way on the tilting of it. I think it works okay here too. I believe even a square crop could work on this, honestly, to where this would be, a square crop and then this would be kind of like close to this edge. But then you lose this, you don't want to lose that.
Yeah, that's just it. At some points, it's kind of a give or take just to do
Yeah.
one flower. Because then we can bring it in, we can take the flower off center, which is kind of cool. We can give it that little tip we were talking about. I'd have to recrop it. But yeah, we lose some of those beautiful textures off onto
Yeah,
the
but if
sides
you
over
did
there.
that tip and then moved the flower more into the left, and you would have this striation coming right in there from the corner, roughly up in that top corner, which looked
This
really
way or
nice.
this way?
The other way.
Straights, I would go like that.
Yeah.
Again, be real radical and go something like this. Huh?
I think that's too far. I think this section over here was the important part, that the underneath side of that pedal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Take it the
I
other
don't know, Gabriel. What do you think on that?
I just gotta tell you that I am mad about saffron.
You wouldn't guess the guy was a musician, would you, Kevin?
If you know what I mean. Saffron's mad about me. Just
Gabriel,
ask Donovan.
when Rick decided, he says, I got to call Gabe and have him be a judge. We knew it was going to be like this, so thank you for being yourself.
Yeah, be yourself.
Not that we
I
expected anything else,
am
but
mad about saffron.
and we're going to change themes drastically. Terror over the tower.
Jesus.
Yeah, that is drastic. This
All
one also
right.
blowing me out of my chair.
Gabriel, go ahead.
Tower. All right. Now we need to call Jack Valet and Steven Spielberg.
Oh,
Yeah, what's the movie that was shot there? What's the name of that movie?
Close Encounters.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Any thoughts for our maker on
This is
improvement?
madness. That is awesome.
How about the mat size? That kind of strikes me as being a little big, maybe. Thick.
All right, Kevin, this is right down your alley, man.
Yeah, I don't know about the mat size being too big, but potentially. Because it's black, it forces me in to the scene. The key line's nicely done on it. This is obviously a multiple exposure with multiple lightning strikes in this location. It's just stunning. This lightning strike right here is amazing. It just looks like fire.
It does. It almost looks like it's hit and it's created a fire
It's a really cool one. But the way that these are just kind of where they're located, and if this was done in post, it happened that way in those locations. I don't really care. It's you're creating a piece of art here that's really quite cool. And I'm actually drawn over to the atmosphere that's in here too. That looks really cool as well. This is a great image to me. The silhouette's
Yeah.
perfect. I wouldn't want it to not be silhouetted.
Yeah, because I think the emphasis kind of goes with the intensity of the storm.
Yeah.
The storm's all over, and this is just a Devil's Tower, but it's caught in the middle of it. It wasn't the theme of the story here.
I like it. What was the name of it?
Terror over the tower. The artist. Gabriel, what do you think?
I think it's very nicely made. Beautiful composition. The artist has placed this artist in the perfect spot for the composition of this image. It tells the story very well. Beautifully lit.
And a very elegant pose too.
Very elegant pose. Yeah, the presentation is a little distracting, but it's very appropriate for the subject matter. This subject was placed beautifully within the art, and the room. The lighting is, a little bit flat, but that's okay. I'm sure this person was very pleased with it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Well, there's a nice little kicker light on her arm and the side of her head.
Yeah,
Does give us a little depth there.
the only thing I would have done a little different is I would have turned her head towards the camera left.
So coming back to her shoulder a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's about it. I mean, other than that, it's beautiful.
It's funny, the
Very,
one thing I was just gonna throw in real quick to ask you guys think. The one thing that's funny, this rug on the right pulls my eye unnecessarily. I wish it would either have come in more or not been there altogether, or does that not bother you guys?
well, don't let it.
Don't
Stop
let
letting
it.
it bother you.
Hey, my
Jeez.
bad. My bad.
Well, on the same token, that big black rug on the left is even worse.
That one probably bothers
On
me
the
worse
on the
than
bottom left,
Okay.
it looks
yeah.
like the butt of a bear over there.
Probably looks like a bear rug, doesn't it?
But it's there and it's okay. Very pretty.
It feels because they've taken the effort to put this artist in her element. I think some attention to the element itself needs to be paid attention to. You guys can speak much better to the lighting on her than what I can, but I feel like the verticals aren't perfect or aren't vertical. It feels tilted to me. Like it just feels
Now that you
tilted.
mention it, I see you're saying, and even
Yeah, so
this
if you're
picture
gonna,
back
I
here.
feel like if you're gonna do a portrait of someone in their element, then really pay attention to those elemental details too. Yeah, this needs to be horizontal, those types of things. The easel obviously won't be, but the other things I think can be handled. That's the architecture photography in me coming out.
Yeah, a tilt shift lens would be nice.
Well, it's easy enough to go into Photoshop these days and just select this guy and just tilt it a little bit
Yeah,
clockwise and make it straight. And
not much you can do about the gallery lighting on the ceiling. I realize those are there, and to be able to capture the art on the wall because of that low ceiling,
yeah,
those are going to be there. This is her element. This is where
Right.
it's her studio, it's her gallery. Those things are part of it.
For a portrait photography working today, I think this is a very nicely done job.
Oh, I'm sure that you got to imagine the artist or the gallery itself to see this picture. They're just probably thrilled with it. It isn't the snapshot that we're seeing online all the time when they will literally stand in front of their piece and you can see their shadow on the picture as somebody takes a picture of them with their phone and
Yep.
says the portrait. Yeah.
Let me take your picture.
We have the Columbine King. So let me ask you this question as I sit and look at a lot of videos of all kinds of photographers all over the world, and the one thing that's becoming, and I think it's a trend, I don't want to say it's a right or wrong thing, but they're all adding this, and I'm not saying this has been added, but they're all adding this brighter background. Of course, especially Gabriel and I, we grew up in that world that anything bright like that in the background was a hand slapper. I mean, your boss would tell you, go do it again because you don't shoot into the highlights and get those glare and the flare. You don't shoot with light source coming to the camera. How do you guys feel about that these days? Because I'm seeing if it's handled well. How, like this one here, does this bother you? Do you find it appealing because it's part of the story? What do you think?
It's funny that you mentioned that because when that picture came up, I was happy with it. And because in life, the only constant is change.
That's true.
To me, it looked natural. But I felt exactly, I thought about what you said. Somebody would have said, hey, man, that's wrong. You don't shoot into the light. You don't blur it because your eye is going to be drawn towards the brightest thing. But, I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with it. If anything, it felt organic, felt natural.
Although to kind of continue that conversation, and I've noticed over the years, and Gabriel, since we've both judged for so long, there's been certain rules, if you will, that have become almost stringent, non accepting of change of styles, of elements, of even subject matter over the years, that I'm afraid that this wouldn't score well because, oh, you don't do that. Okay, go with the times. Look at what's happening. Things I think there's an absolutely beautiful element of this flower from our point of view is backlit. This is doing it. That's showing the source. It's got a flare because it is a light source. The trees are out of focus. So, I mean, it's a very real element. The depth of field is only through the flower. So it definitely works. Everything else is, I mean, it's a very shallow depth of field. You could barely see just the plants at the base of the flower is probably, shot wide open. But yeah, I mean, I think it works. The only thing I might suggest is let's make the flower a little more prominent. There's enough real estate here that maybe we can crop it in to something like I like the trees. It's kind of helping frame it. But beyond that, is it necessary? Take it just a little off center. I don't know. That's kind of my first thought. So it's still telling the same story, but now the flower is more prominent in the scene. I like this shallow depth of field, but it's less of it, so the flower stands out more. Just my take. Kevin, what do you want to add to that?
I like this crop. I also like the original crop too, but maybe not quite as big, so maybe not quite as close in. I do like the idea of tightening up a little bit. I tend to like these types of situations here. I think, like Gabriel was saying, it's a very natural occurrence. I think any one of us that have spent time in the woods have seen these types of things, and I think it looks beautiful. It's a good handling of the tricky situation. What I really wish had happened, and would have had to have happened on capture, sadly. This guy right here really speaks a lot to me, coupled with the flower, and he's competing with this tree. And so the maker would have had to move to his or her right to put that bud in an empty area, in a void. You see what I'm
That
saying?
overlapping is what's causing your pulling your eyes.
Yeah, so if that bud was like in a darker background where it wasn't overlapping with that bright tree, so the maker may have not been aware of that upon capture. They were so focused on the flower itself. And I think the two of these things together is what works the best, but it would have to be a different capture. Yeah.
The maker does have a comment, says, I struggle with what color to make the matte. It would be for the PPA Merit Image Review Competition. Not sure. Thoughts?
Well, I just want to add one more thing, if I may.
Yeah, please.
I think that as time goes on and we become more educated, there's other medias, there's cinema out there. I think we get just entrapped into this world of PPA. I think we need to take into account that there's other media out there, and then we just need to expand our horizons and take into the consideration other worlds.
I'm glad you said that. That's exactly what Rick and I talk about. Obviously, both being born and raised in the PPA world, and as valuable as it is, I sit and look at there's several artists from Sweden and Ireland and Scotland that just do some in England. It's stunning work, and their compositional concepts are so totally different than what's been ingrained in our PPA minds. Not good or bad, just different, and it's more freeing. So I think what you're saying is true. A lot of them do the sunburst. A lot of them even add it into their images now with the gradients you can do in Photoshop. But I do see what Kevin's saying. If I mean, you could take maybe one half step to the left, Kevin, and this flower would have been more in here, and this guy would have been right out over here. And I think you're right.
Yep.
They wouldn't have overlapped the background, which would have given it even a feeling of more depth.
That's what I was thinking too. Gabriel's point about the other stuff too. So I know we need to move along. We didn't speak on the mat. That was the maker's question, so probably should answer that. And I think that the matte border on here, I think the color works fine. I didn't even really notice it, to be honest. So it was
I guess that
very
makes it okay.
secondary, and that's a good thing.
So I'm going to say, I think, Terry, your comment was on the previous yellow white flower, wasn't it? Because I think that was,
Yeah, it was.
yeah, because that was
Oh,
earlier, yeah,
okay.
with the darker matte, because that's
Oh,
what
I wouldn't do a yellow matte.
Let's do this. I'm gonna go. We've got time tonight. Let me close this one. I think we have like one more image, two more images, and then we can pull that one back up and just kind of chat about it some more.
Okay.
This one is called The Harmony of Nature and Man.
Bang.
Yeah, Kev, go ahead.
That's bang.
Bang. Okay.
Yeah, let me just look at this one a second. This one takes my breath away, guys.
Cool.
It's got everything. The tonal range is amazing in it. The texture in the foreground, absolutely amazing. The camera angle, the wide angle lens, the subject matter, many would say is the lighthouse, but to me, it's the foreground that leads you back to the lighthouse. The foreground to me is the subject. I love these low camera angles with wide angle lenses where the camera's pointed down
Right.
a little bit with the wide angle, like probably a 14 millimeter pointed down. So you get that long foreground like this.
Yeah.
Really well seen by the maker to find this location with that bright leading line there. Don't know if this is handled in post or not, if that lighthouse was lit or not, but it's handled well, I think, regardless. And the glow behind it and the sky. Guys, this is good. It's good. Yeah, I don't know. It's good.
Gabriel, what do you want to add?
Well, I agree with that. I like the matting too. The only thing that I think you need to watch for it, I think it's probably in the bit depth. There's something going on
The
in
little
some
band.
spacing.
Yeah.
Is there
some
banding
banding.
there?
You'd probably change to a 16-bit file and you'd probably lose that, I'll bet.
I
Yeah.
didn't see that. I can't see it on the Zoom sometimes.
And I think that's the other problem too, like you're saying, Kevin, because I was working with a client the other day and
Yeah.
they were showing me something that I saw, they didn't. It's like, oh, okay.
But I love your
Generally,
composition. I like where you put the light of the lighthouse, in within the composition. I think it's a very good spot, and
Story. Good.
in it's within the dynamic conversion. Well done.
Oh yeah, nice. Good stuff.
those before we move on, Jeff, those that banding, I deal with this a lot in my own work. It tends to happen on smooth skies where there's a gradient.
Bandwidth.
There's a couple ways to deal with it. It generally starts to happen when you're pushing things a little bit too much. But if you go in and just add a little bit of noise or grain and silver effects,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
that will take care of it. You can't even see it, but the grain itself gives the software something to do other than try to have a
I
smooth
got you.
gradient in that section. So a little
Good
bit of noise
tip.
or grain will tackle it.
Good tip, because we've had this happen on several conversations across the months on the show, and nobody's had a good answer like that. So thank you, sir. That's
Yeah, and it seriously, it's like 1.0 or whatever of Photoshop noise will do it. It
just
takes
got
it out.
done.
It's
Okay.
done.
All right, guys, we got one more to chat about. Answer questions, or I'll go back to that one. We'll talk about the mat. This is called the Killing Fields. Gabriel, thoughts?
I'm getting over the carnage.
I know I zoomed in and you look close. There's quite a bit of it there.
Compositionally, we need to change the cropping a little bit so that this bird is not in the middle, horizontally wise. And I think this matte color needs to change.
Would you like to
That's
see it?
better. There you go. That's much better.
Yeah.
I would make that matte gray. I would do the color of those feathers. They see that's a hell of a lot better already.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, I mean, we have the
But
color in the bird, but this
it's
is
got a
color.
hell of a lot of impact. The scene is quite beautiful. It's just the way things are.
Perfect. Good timing.
Yeah.
Like the long horizontal. I do like this crop a little better. Kevin, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, this is definitely a better crop too. These images don't tend to speak a lot to me. I don't necessarily know why, but this crop is definitely much stronger. I would almost, God, yeah, simple conversion isn't going to do it. If you're going to go black and white, it's going to take a lot of work. I actually think black and white could be tricky on this one because the color and the water in the background, just not enough contrast there for the bird to pop. You need the difference in color. This guy right over here on the left edge, clone that out. I think that stuff should start like more in frame a little bit. So that one big bulky one, just clone that out, get rid of that edge distraction.
Probably this over here too, then.
Probably, yep. Some of those
Maybe
other
even-
little things,
maybe
couple
an
little
olive.
edge distractions, just get rid of those. Those are nitpicky things. But the change in crop really helped this a lot.
How about the matte color too? Yeah, that was a little bit. Let me go back.
Oh yeah. Darker, I think. I don't remember what it was now.
It was kind of
Hang on.
Was it
Photoshop.
gold?
kind of light beige.
Oh yeah, I would come in here in this color, this darker color. Or like Gabriel was saying earlier, like a darker gray, even like in the water, the darker sections of water.
Yeah, again,
Pull from
it's
some of
color
those.
coordinated. It's easy to pick a color from the subject, so it's coordinated. But in this case, I think it's asking for too much attention. Saying
Yeah, pick a color that's not the bird.
something in
maybe.
the water. Yeah.
The feather of the prey.
Doesn't, when I brought it back with the mat, I sat back for a second. This guy's looking at us. He's looking at the camera like, hey, leave me alone. I'm eating, or
What
don't
you looking
interfere with
at?
my life, or
I'm not sharing.
yeah, exactly. There you go. I'm not sharing. This is all mine. And little things, this is kind of hard, but I probably would go in and clean up just some of them. Let me change tools here.
Oh, you can't even imagine how many seashells I've cleaned off beaches in my images, man.
And I think the talent there, Kevin, you probably agree, is when do you stop? Because once you clean up a few, there's always more that stand out. So you have to.
I don't stop until the beach is perfectly smooth.
Sure. But like in the water, I'm seeing this curve right here, which is asking me to this curve. And I realize this is flow of the water, but I maybe would break this up a little bit just to not have this be an attention getter. Crop it like the center, not crop it, but just get rid of those things. Some of these areas, just kind of play with those things and and again, it's that flipping it upside down thing that I think will help. What catches your eye? And when I flip it, I see this stuff a lot more prominently, and they're subtle enough, but they're taking away from the the story. So excellent concept, though. I mean, love the story. Even, I mean, look at the pose of the bird. It even looks like we've caught him in the middle of something like he wasn't supposed to be doing. I'm afraid to zoom in and see what he's got in his mouth.
The maker says it's ice.
Oh, in the background here. All right. So good job, everybody. So that's the end of our show as far as images. Let's go back real quick because that conversation we were having about this one, just to make sure I think answering Terry's question. If Terry, I'm getting this right, this is the one you were asking about. We're talking about the mat.
Yeah, I struggled with it. Started out with a dark green and then a lighter green, and then the yellow was like hideous. And then I went pure black. This is actually a dark gray.
Why don't you go with a neutral color, like a taupe or
something in like maybe this area,
because I thought maybe like an off a not pure white, but with a like a dark gray key line. I thought that might be pretty cool too.
Or a taupe or a dark gray.
Yeah,
in this tonal range.
Remember some of those mats we saw earlier tonight that were like white, not quite white, but they were, like a really light gray, and then they had the drop shadow beneath it. That I think would look good on
I know
this.
what you're talking
This
about.
does have a little bit of a drop shadow, but obviously not enough.
The kind of like where it looked like it was like the image stopped and then there was paper. I don't remember, Jeff, if you can pull one up.
Yeah.
Oh, had the double mat kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that right
like
there.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
So like what you're seeing here, what if this were actually a print and you were seeing it on the wall,
Right.
the image, this is the paper that the image is printed on, and then the mat stops before the mat covers up the image. So you see exposed paper.
Right.
Photograph. When I'm doing my fine art prints, that's what I do because it leaves room to sign and number. So this is like a mimic of that. And I think it looks really good. So this kind of idea, I think, would look really well on that flower.
So my thing is I'm 2 things away from my master's, 2 image critiques from my master's. So if I entered it, how does MRI or PPA think about this type of matting?
The bottom line with matting is that all of these techniques are good ideas as long as it works with the image.
Okay.
That's a broad statement. I don't mean to cop out on it, but I'm going to pull yours back up again here. So look at this image and you see what Kevin was saying. So picture this like a photograph printed on paper.
Right.
This and this is all the same paper. This is the mat above it, just cut larger. So if we were to take your image here, kind of picture the same thing, and again, you just have to go in and play with it and create. You can take this and you actually cut it out and put your image behind it on the layer, and then you can create the drop shadow. But again, just play with the tones of these grays and whites and get something and the idea is to, well, even in real life to hang on the wall, is you don't want, back in the 70s and 80s when the big thing was if you had a bed of pink tulips and green leaves, you'd make the mat pink a lip and a green mat, and it was just the most hideous thing, but that was the style. Yeah, I know. You remember those things? Yeah, exactly. So
terrible.
Kind of thought process, except we want it to be subtle. We want it to be 3D, we want it to be subtle. You'll just have to go and click on colors for this map, but pick some of these different petals, grays, gray tones, and just find something that basically what I do is I'll open up the color picker and sit back and just start clicking all around the flower in different areas. And if all of a sudden the mat kind of disappears from obviousness, I know it's another one of those big terms, there you go. That's what you're looking for because now it's supportive instead of asking for attention. Does that make sense, Terry?
Yeah, it did. That's kind of what I did. And it's just like nothing.
This is a hard one. Yeah, this is a hard one because you got,
because I think I did 2.5 inches around. Does that need to be bigger?
That's another, because I usually do about 1.5 inch mat around my images, and it works for some, and sometimes I drop it back to 1 inch. Depending, that's not even really a fair thing to say because it depends if I'm working on a 50-inch file or an 8x10, because the proportion, 1 inch and an 8x10, 2-inch mat on an 8x10 is big. 2-inch mat on a 50-inch print is a key line. So it's just an eyeball comfortable balance. You can't really say certain dimensions. I don't know. Do you have any rule that you use, Kevin, for matting as far as?
No, it's all visual. It's a visual, just like composition is a visual thing. It's just a visual thing.
And personal too, very personal too.
Yeah, just look at it until you get it to where you like it. Like Gabriel was saying, a color in here though, I think would be good.
Yeah. So yeah, try that, Terry. Just get your mat separate piece than this, and start clicking around the image and see what color what tone, what shade is there, complementary, but doesn't ask for attention. Because I think this black is just saying, hey, look at me first. The yellow would do the same thing, but almost anything else in these grays might be, as we all say, more better.
More better. Okay. All
Or
right.
better.
Well, that brings us to the end of our images. Does anybody have any more questions, thoughts, comments? We haven't heard any bad jokes. Rick hasn't been with us. Or Gabriel, you have any bad jokes you want to share?
Well, that was a
I am
great image.
mad about saffron.
Yeah, that's been good enough right there.
Rum's
Yeah.
mad about me.
And trust
Oh
me,
my
I
God.
played that song after I named that file. So yes.
They
Did you
call
really?
me Mellow Yellow. That's right.
That's right. Well, this has been another wonderful show. If we don't have any other questions, Gabriel, thank you, my friend, so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate your point of view and your time, and double thumbs up from him. So we must have done right. So
You know, I don't always drink beer, but when I do,
I drink a lot of it. That's the
I
rest of
drink
it.
a lot of it.
That's the
Yes.
rest of it.
When I do, it is wine.
Kevin, anything else you want to add to our dear friends for listening in tonight?
No, I appreciate being on tonight, and Rick was kind enough to call me and have me sit in for him. So it's big shoes to fill. I'm honored.
He told me
He wears a 12
Because
and a half.
I was like the 10th person probably. Like 9 others couldn't make
yeah,
it.
10 to 20, somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that, right? That was the last ditch effort.
He did tell me, and I probably shouldn't share this with you, but he did tell me to make it difficult for you guys. But this has gone so well, I didn't want to do that. So, yeah.
Before you go, I spoke with our good friend
Christy.
I spoke
Yeah.
with her this morning.
Yeah.
She's gonna be all right. She's feeling better.
Oh, good.
But she says, don't call me. I can talk. I cannot talk to anybody, but she's gonna be okay. She's feeling better,
Good.
and she's gonna be fine.
Okay.
All right. She just wanted me to tell you that.
Thank you for sharing. It's true. I should have
Mhm.
asked. Hey, when you get over 25 years old, Gabriel, what do you want? I mean, it's
You know, I'm just 24 several times over.
well, gang, thanks again for joining us for another show. I'll get this up online for you and by all means, as you know, always reach out with questions, comments. We offer other one-on-one services and more critique services. We're happy to help you with images along the way. I'm sure Gabriel and Kevin will too, if you guys don't mind me serving you up.
Serve me up all you want.
For them. Gang, thank you. Cliff, and thank you so much for, I mean, I know we don't touch base with you too much during the program, but you do take care of all the little things that I keep forgetting about. I keep not seeing. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here and helping us out, keeping
You
this.
bet.
Cliff's the rock, man. He's the rock.
That's right.
Peace.
Good to see you again, Kevin.
Yeah, always good to see you, Cliff.
Gabriel, thank you, my friend, so much
Of course.
for being part of the show.
Just want to say thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah.
Thank you for watching the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson and Rick Avalos. Learn more by checking them out at theimagecritiqueshow.com.